Okay, so now that we've gotten this far with these gears, I'm going to show you how to integrate some hardware and put these things together so you can use them for all kinds of different kinds of projects. This is just an example. This is the one in the Instructable. It'll be linked below. Um, it's it's this little hopper with a bunch of ping pong balls, and as this as this gear turns and indexes, uh, it's like a little trigger that pushes them out of the hopper. So it's just kind of a silly example, you know, something fun you could do with it. But this kind of mechanism you can do with all kinds of different things. What I've done here is I've added this little driver, so you can actually put the hex end of a drill into this, and any standard drill will work. This is going to be in the file. It's also linked in the Instructable. If I turn that off, you'll see here there's like a little cap right there, and then that cap is holding a bearing onto this base. So, and I'll show you how to do all that stuff. So basically, the big idea here is that you can use some really simple hardware and some skateboard bearings to put together a lot of different kinds of mechanical objects. And I'm going to keep making more stuff like this that you'll be able to download and use yourself. So just starting here, we've already figured out the mechanism and how it's supposed to work. So this is working just fine. I'm going to put these back to rest, and that looks pretty good. That's like kind of a reasonable place to start with all this stuff. It doesn't matter so much, but you know, this can help. Okay, so I know I'm going to use a skateboard bearing, right? So to do that, I'll go to Insert, McMaster Car Component, and the number for that kind of bearing is 608 ZZ. So I should be able to just go here to the search bar and type 608 ZZ, and then you'll see here open bearings, and then it should be the first thing that comes up probably. You're going to want to find one that's got this little CAD icon there. That means there's a 3D model you can download for it. So I think that first one is probably fine. The ones that aren't lubricated tend to spin faster, so you might want to find one of those. Anyway, you go down here, and then where it says save, make sure this is set to 3D step, and then save. And now this part's going to come in. So it comes in by default at the origin, and that's fine for now. So what I'll do is we're going to take this gear and this bearing. That's just the part number. Usually I do something like this, bearing, so you know what you're looking at, right? It's like I brought it in twice somehow. Oh, that's weird. Oh, I see what happened. I think it's because I doubled it up for some reason. Anyway, so there's the bearing. There's the gear. So I'm going to select both of those in the browser, right-click, and isolate. So if I look over here, I should be able to see just those two things. I don't want all that other stuff getting in the way. I'm going to start by aligning this to the gear, to the center of the gear. It's already aligned to the center, but I want it to be flush with the bottom as well. So I'll click Align, and then any one of these circles on the bottom surface of this gear. So I'll go with that one. And then I need one of the circles that corresponds to the center of this gear. So I could either pick that the pitch diameter, the green line right there, or this outside. Doesn't really matter. That's going to move it's going to align that component. See right here, components. Align that component with this. So now I know that's in a place that is useful to me. Click OK, and then I want to cut that shape out of the bearing, out of the gear. Excuse me. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go to Spur Gear, the 24 teeth one, activate, and then I'm going to create a sketch on the bottom, capture position because we don't want anything to move. Then I'm going to project the outside perimeter of that bearing. Okay, so I will go to project, include, project. In this case, I want to use bodies here, not specified entities. that'll work, but like I'm gonna have to pick a bunch of different stuff here, and I'm not really sure because I can't see which line I'm clicking on. So it's safer to just go with bodies, and you'll see here it's just gonna let me pick a body and it'll project that whole thing. So I can click and hold, and it's gonna give me a list of stuff that's under my mouse right there. So I want to pick this one. That's the outer body of the bearing. Click OK. Then I'm going to extrude that profile and that profile and that. Might as well just get that whole thing and extrude it so that, turning bodies off here, turn that component off. I want to extrude it to where it hits the top. So go distance to object, and then I'll pick the top here. Okay. Turn my component back on. And sometimes this gives you an error, so if you just go with distance, it'll automatically fix it. And you'll see it's cutting through the gear. But I don't want it to cut through the bearing, right? You see here, it's cutting through all this other stuff in the bearing as well. So I could, in objects to cut, uncheck all those things that are part of the bearing component, or I can just turn this off. And now that's the only thing. So turn it off in the browser, that's faster. Click OK. Now I've got a cavity in this gear that the bearing will fit into. Okay, so that's good. Go back here to activate, to the main component. I'm going to turn this one on, and then I'm going to copy this bearing over to there as well. I need another one, right? So copy, paste. Then over here in the copy, paste, I can go point to point, and then click any circle that corresponds with the center axis of the gear. Click that, and then I'll go over here to the center there. Now I see it's moved to its proper place, right in the middle. That's good. Okay, so same thing with this 12-tooth gear. Right click, activate. I'm going to make a sketch on the bottom. I'll go to sketch, project include, project. With the bodies selected, click on this. Click OK. Extrude. Pick all those profiles. Turn this off. Distance to object to top. Back to distance, so we avoid the error. Let it cut through. Turn the bearing off. There we go. So if I turn the bearing back on, we should be in good shape now. So now I've got both of these gears are now designed so that they fit with this thing. Now, there's another problem here. If they're press fit in there, the diameter of this hole is small enough that there's kind of a roof inside here that could rub up against the bearing. So we want to make that hole bigger. So I'm going to go here, and I will go to the top, and I'm going to pick this press pull. Click that. And I'm just going to move it until I can see that it's giving me some weird values here. I'm going to go to the top view. And then the way these bearings work, there's sort of an inner ring and an outer ring, right? And I want to move this. I want to press pull. Oh, there we go. Now we got a error. Happens sometimes. I'm going to not save that for now. Open it again. Didn't like that for some reason, and I got a crash. So opening Fusion again. It saves recovery files. They'll come up automatically in a list, but if you don't see the recovery files for some reason, you can always go to the File menu, and they'll show up in there. And as usual, it opens up pretty quickly. So I'm going to go gear example, open. Might have lost a little bit of work there, but it's probably no big deal. Yeah, okay, so I got to move that bearing over again. Okay, so anyway, align this to this, enter. Let's turn that on and just copy paste. Kind of changing up the order a little bit, doesn't really matter. The end result will be the same. And I'm picking, notice I picked the edge, not the middle part right there. I'm picking that edge that's kind of a circular edge that a circular edge whose center is on the center of the bearing, right? Because I drew that circle from the center. Okay, so those are both in place where they need to be. And then what I was trying to do before was to open that up so that it fit that bearing. But for now, let's just go back to our each one of these, activate, create sketch right there. P for project, click on bodies, undo that, and undo that. P for project, this, get that body, okay. Extrude, that. Probably don't need that middle one, but it doesn't really matter. Turn that off. Distance to object to the top. Distance, turn this back on, turn off the bearing. Okay. Go back here, activate that one. And then I'm going to do create sketch. Click on the bottom. P for project. Click on that body. Okay. Extrude the profiles I need. Turn off the gear. Distance to object on the top. Back to distance to avoid that glitch. Turn off that bearing so it doesn't cut through it. Click OK. Bearing back on. Activate. Now we can save so I don't lose any more work. Okay, so we need to make that hole bigger so that it exposes this part of the ring on the top. We need the ring to not be rubbing up against the top of the gear because it needs to move freely. Okay, so I'm going to click on this, and then press pull, and hopefully we won't get another error here. So it looks like it's trying to give me, this works sometimes with, yeah, so it's going to be a negative value. And let's just give it a value. Let's say -3 and see what we get. There's obviously different ways to do this. I could make a sketch on top and extrude that. I'm just showing you a different method here, maybe a little easier. And that's fine. So 5 looks like it's plenty because I can tell by looking at this that that part is going to be exposed. So that's good. Enter. And I'm going to look over here and I'll do the same thing. So I'll press pull, and I know that value will be the same because it was the same when I made the gears, right? So that should give me a hole that's big enough there as well. Okay. So now I should be able to 3D print these and press a gear, press the bearing in, and they'd be ready to go. But they need to be connected to the base, and the base should have needs a way to, like, if we really want these to be sturdy, if you look at the video demo of this thing in action, when you're putting a drill up to it, like it really needs to hold together. So we'll talk about how to do that now. All right. So if it's sitting on this base, the first thing is the bottom of the gear can't be touching the top of the base, right? So let's first press pull the top of the base by -1. Just give a little room in there. Okay, so that's going to need to happen for sure. Next thing I'm going to do is turn these off because those are just going to get in my way right now. I'm going to activate the base. I'll make a sketch. And now I'm going to draw myself some little posts in here that I can use to stick these bearings onto. So again, I'm going to do the P for project. I'll project that and that. So those are the two parts of the inner bearing. Those are going to give me everything I need right now. So first I will go extrude that one and that one. And I can just click that thing up on the top. It looks like it gives me 8. I don't want to go quite that high because I need a little cap that's going to screw onto it and hold it together. So I'm going to need a little barrier, a little bit of a gap in here. So I'll pull this down, make it like 5. That should be okay. Sketch disappears because that's the first geometry I made from it. So I go back to my browser here, turn on the sketch, and then I'm going to extrude. Extrude. Turn these off so we can see that one, that one. Turn those back on, and I want those to go up to the bottom of the bearing here. So I'm holding my mouse over and click and hold until I get that face. Okay, and then back to distance because there's like some glitch right now, but they'll fix that soon. Okay, so now I have this little platform that's going to hold that bearing off of the bottom of the base. to let it spin freely. So if I click OK, you'll see it's like a post with a little platform on it, right? Should look like this. Cool. Okay. So turn those back on, and then the other thing I'm going to need for the base is a cap, right? So a lot of different ways to do that. I'm going to make a revolute. I'm going to make a revolve to make that shape. So I'm going to go construct. I got to give myself a plane, right? And let's see if I have an origin. That should work. So I can use that origin plane right there. Clicking on that first. If I click create sketch, it'll just give me one right there. Now I'm going to intersect. So I'll go project include, intersect, and then bodies again, and I'll click that. So now I have the shape of the part of the bearing that I need to screw on, that I need to fix to, okay? Then I want to project again, that's P, and I'll project this so I know where the top of my my post is on the bottom. I need to give myself a little gap so I can screw it together and like really get a good fit. So I'll go to line and give myself a center line from that midpoint up like this. I'm going to use an M3 screw, so I'll draw the size of the hole right now in the thing I revolve. You know what? I won't do that right now. I'll show you a different way to do that. Okay, so there's that, and then I'm just going to draw a really simple cap, like that, and then let's make the height with D for dimension like this, and I'll give it a real dimension of 3. That should be fine. Stop sketch. Now I've got a profile I can revolve. So create, revolve, pick that and that. Axis is this. And I don't want to join it. I don't want to join anything. I want to make a new component on the base. Click OK, and now you'll see I have another component here. I'll call that the cap. And then that, I don't want that the bottom part to touch like that. So actually I need to go here and -1, press pull. Just need enough to center it, right? Turn bodies back on, I should see a gap. That's good, that's what I want. Okay. I'm gonna need another one over here, so copy, paste. Then I can go from point to point, from anything that's gonna give me the center of that circle, right, to anything else that's gonna give me the center of the other circle. Like that. So now they're the same height offset, and they're in their proper place, and they're copies of the same thing. All right, so I know this is going to be a screw. I'm going to use an M3, and I'm going to measure this. So that's the top, and if I shift select the bottom, I can see the whole distance is 16 millimeters. So I'm going to need a screw that fits within that, right? So it should be 16 millimeters when you include the head. So let's go to insert with master car. Screws, socket head, metric, M3, that's a 3 millimeter diameter one. The distance, the whole distance here is, for this kind of screw, is there. So 60, it's going to be, whatever that was, time, like plus, 16 plus the, sorry. It's going to be less than 16, so I think I probably want to do a 12. I think that might give me the whole thing. I'll click on 12 and just pick this first one here. Product detail. And that'll tell me how tall the head is. 3, so 12, 15. That's fine. Less than 16. That's okay. All right. So that's got to be a step file as usual. Save. It's going to bring in that component for me. And then I want to rotate this around like that, because I'm going to screw it in from the top. Move that down, and then I want to go point to point to get the center of this thing on the center of the bottom. So I'll go point to point from here to here. Click OK. Pick that. If I look from the top, this should look like it's centered, and it is. That's good. Okay. So now what I can do is, let's just keep it simple for now. I'm going to combine, capture position. I'm going to combine this and this, cut, and keep tools because I want to keep that screw. Again, repeat, combine this and this, cut, keep tools, okay. Let's look at this on its own. Right click, isolate, because there's going to be some junk in there we don't need. So I will extrude this part all the way up, cut, and then the same thing with the with this. So extrude this all the way up, cut, and then it's giving me this junk in the middle. I'm just kind of doing this quick and dirty right now. I mean, if you want to be really, really be careful about it. Yeah, actually, let's be a little more sophisticated about this. So I'm going to go to the top here with that, and then I will project the body that is this thing right here, so I get the whole screw. Okay. And then I'm going to need a little bit of wiggle room to get that screw in there, so I'm going to go sketch, offset that by 0.05, because I know that works. Then I can extrude this and turn off my screw and go down to where it cuts all the way through. Cut. Oops. Cut. So I want to go down to, can just hit the down arrow to that point. So now I've got a nice cavity for the cap of my screw. That's good. You don't really need those threads in there. Actually, that should probably, technically speaking, that should be a bigger hole. You shouldn't have the threads on it, but it doesn't really matter because it's plastic and you're just going to cut through it anyway. So that should give you what you need for the cap. And then I'm going to right click on this one, unisolate, because I want to see all the other things. So now the caps are cut out, and I need to copy this screw over, copy paste, point to point from here to there. Okay, combine, cut that and that, keep tools. Now I got holes in the bottom. And you can add nut pockets, do that same process I just did, and you can bring in a nut, put it down on the bottom, project it, cut that part out. The same process we did with the screw through McMaster Carr, and then you get a nut here. Here it doesn't really matter because these are going to be about the same size. Actually, back to the beginning. Nuts and hex nuts are what we want. And we want to do metric, M3, and then you just get this first generic one here. Then we're going to go down, 3D step, save, move it down like that, and then we're going to go point to point. These have circles built into them, which is convenient, so I can click that. It's an edge of a circle that corresponds to the center. Then that one, that'll put it in place. And then I can take that and copy it over, copy paste, capture position, point to point from circle to circle. Make sure you get the ones that are on the right level like that, otherwise it'll jump and move somewhere else weird that you didn't expect. And then I can do create sketch on the base. Then I can project with P with the bodies and get that nut and that nut. P, and then you can click and hold until you get the body you want. Stop sketch. Then you can extrude this and this. Just pick those profiles. Turn off the bodies. Click on the distance to object to the top of that nut. Back to distance. Turn bodies back on. And then turn the nuts and the screws off. So it should just be cutting through everything right there. Enter. And you see there's a weird thing left over. That's because of a, I don't know what it cut out. There's some left over weirdness. But whatever, you can just get rid of those. Click on them both, right click, and then remove. Don't delete, because that sometimes can ruin your your history. So pretty much always want to remove. And then we turn the bearing back on and the gear back on and back here, activate. And now you've got, if you, I'm going to go to appearance and just change the going to make all the things white that are 3D printed so you can see the difference. So really it's just the nut and the screw and the bearing that you buy, and then everything else is 3D printed and screwed together. I'm not going to get into the all the little details in here, like how to do bevels and all that stuff. You can look at my other videos and Instructables to figure out how to make this a little smoother, how to make it easier to touch. You can interface these with other things, like I did with this example file here. I made this little hopper for the ping pong balls, the trigger, and all this stuff. There will be, in the Instructable, you'll be able to open this file. You can download the archive and see everything and kind of look at the history to figure it all out. But this is just an example to show you how to integrate hardware into 3D printed parts. And like I said, this is going to be the first of many, so come back and check it out.